The BBC has now confirmed that Sir Tony Blair did in fact meet Jeffrey Epstein inside Downing Street while still Prime Minister. For years, that claim was speculative based on rumours and unverified notes, but now, thanks to the release of restricted documents from the National Archives, the story is unambiguous. The meeting took place on the 14th of May 2002 at 5 p.m. following lobbying by Lord Peter Mandelson. And at the time, Epstein was not yet a convicted criminal. He was, however, already notorious in New York and Palm Beach society as a shadowy financial advisor to the super-rich with a penchant for collecting powerful friends. And according to a newly declassified memo by the senior civil servant Richard Matthew Rycroft, later Britain's permanent representative to the UN, Blair was briefed that Epstein was a financial advisor to the super-rich and a property developer, and that he was a friend of Bill Clinton and Peter Mandelson. And Rycroft added a line that now reads like a warning unheeded. The background on Epstein is that he is very rich and close to the Duke of York. And the meeting, which Blair's office says lasted less than 30 minutes, was arranged at Mandelson's insistence. Emails show the then backbench MP writing to Blair's Chief of Staff, Jonathan Powell, to say that Epstein was safe, whatever that means, and Bill Clinton was now doing a lot of travelling with him. Mandelson urged Blair to meet this young and vibrant figure, calling him an active scientific catalyst and entrepreneur. It is worth pausing here. Safe, whatever that means, the phrase is chilling in hindsight, isn't it? It shows the casual, clubbish ease with which British and American elites were prepared to introduce one another to men of immense wealth without asking the obvious questions: where did the money come from and at what cost? Blair's spokesman now insists the conversation was purely about US-UK politics and global markets, yet the optics are terrible. A sitting Prime Minister entertaining a man whose name was already circulating in connection with Prince Andrew, Bill Clinton, and the darker recesses of Manhattan's power circuit. Mandelson's email describes Epstein as flexible, available to fit around the Prime Minister's diary. It is all very polished, all very familiar, the etiquette of power operating as if morality were a minor inconvenience. And the government at the time classified the Rycroft memo as restricted. It was due for release in 2022, but delayed reportedly to avoid embarrassment to both governments. Only after a Freedom of Information challenge this year has it surfaced. And the timing could hardly be worse for Labour's image of ethical renewal under Keir Starmer, who recently sacked Mandelson as Britain's ambassador to the United States for continuing to correspond with Epstein long after his 2008 conviction, even urging him to fight for early release. This entire episode raises larger questions about judgment, proximity, and power. Blair's defence is credible in the narrow sense that he could not have known of Epstein's crimes in 2002, but moral blindness is not the same as innocence. The Epstein network was built not only on coercion and abuse, but on access, and that access depended upon a culture of social deference towards the wealthy, where introductions between friends of friends were rarely questioned. When Clinton, Mandelson and Blair are all connected by this one name, we see how tightly the political and financial worlds intertwined in the early 2000s, the highly globalized era where billionaires were treated as visionaries and political leaders courted them as economic or intellectual assets. It was an age of complacency in which moral risk was discounted against the currency of influence. Blair's defenders are right to say the meeting predates Epstein's conviction by 6 years, but the real story here is not about legal guilt, it's about the psychology of elite circles that elevate the wealthy beyond scrutiny. Mandelson's emails, with their tone of flattery and reassurance, illustrate precisely how such men operate. He's safe, he's a friend, he's vibrant. This is the language that opens every door and closes every question. Epstein's own trajectory from financier to convicted predator to an inmate who died mysteriously in his New York cell has become the parable of moral rot cloaked in respectability, the strange staircase and all the details of that jail and how he ended up killing himself. That he managed to reach the heart of British government, even briefly, is more than a curiosity of history. It's a reminder of how fragile institutional boundaries become when the culture of access replaces the culture of accountability. In retrospect, the Blair-Epstein meeting symbolizes the blindness of an age intoxicated by wealth and global celebrity. It shows how the corridors of power from Washington to Westminster were porous to figures who traded charm for legitimacy. It also explains why public trust in political elites has corroded so dramatically since. The Epstein scandal, even in its distant corners, continues to haunt because it reveals how easily moral compromise can be disguised as diplomacy. The last word should belong not to the spin doctors but to the memo itself, dry, bureaucratic and devastatingly revealing. Jeffrey Epstein is seeing you at 5 p.m. today. Just another line in a Prime Minister's diary, and yet in that sentence we glimpse the quiet machinery by which evil is normalized, one polite introduction at a time.